Let's talk about management. This is something that I have become really passionate about over these years. For me, and we talked about this in our management training class, for me, that 2011 Google survey, Project Oxygen, and I remember listening to Laszlo Bock doing this interview and talking about Google's past. And Google, when they first started, the two founders said, hey, we don't need managers at all.
Yeah, they got rid of all managers.
All of them. I mean, they had hundreds of people at that point, like hundreds of engineers at that point, right? And they said, no more managers. And what happened?
It was a disaster.
Yeah, like unmitigated train wreck, right?
Yeah.
And why?
Because managers matter.
Managers matter.
Yeah. They actually set out to prove that managers didn't.
Right.
And by doing that, they proved that they do.
Right. And good for them. They figured out that there's a better way to do it. And by God, we're going to go do that thing now. And now they have one of the best management practices out there, arguably. Not just because they pay people well. It is because they genuinely invest in people's development and growth. All right, so what are your thoughts on management? What do you think are the most important things that you should do as a manager?
And be there. And that really comes down to the one-to-one, which is something that we practice here, and something that I've practiced for many years as a leader, which is, I meet with everyone on my team every week, but you can do it every other week. But just spending a little bit of time one-on-one, which is why it's called the one-to-one, with your team. We do it. We did one today.
Yeah, we did. Every Monday.
Yeah.
And so what is it about that has such an incredible impact on your people?
Yeah. Well, it shows them that they're a priority. You've said before that showing up is 80% of it, right?
Yeah. You can't really screw it up. You just got to show up.
Just show up.
At a minimum, right?
Just show up, and then care.
Yeah. And then care.
Lean in, ask them how things are going.
Yeah.
Ask them, are there things that we could be doing better as a company?
Yeah.
I mean, man, who doesn't want to get asked that question?
Yeah.
Because they have things to tell you.
But even, like Mel, when we sit down, usually the first 5-10 minutes, or we're talking about our families.
Yeah.
We're talking about what did you do this weekend? Did you go to the music festival? Why not? Like, what did you do spending your time? And like the things that you are passionate about outside of work. I want to know those things. I actually genuinely care about them now. And I look forward to that ability to sit down and have a quick chat about it. My old self would be like, okay, let's just get to the information. Let's get to the facts. Now I'm really interested in how you are doing.
Right.
And then we get to the stuff that's about the business over time.
Well, but it's all about the business. Because if you know about me and care about me, I'm willing to give you more of myself when the business needs it.
Yeah.
Right? If I feel like you don't know me, you don't care.
Walls,
right? absolutely.
Yeah.
If I know that you'd be there for me when I needed you, then I'm going to be there for the business when the business needs me.
Yeah.
So it's not just rainbows and unicorns. There's a good reason for it. I mean, it feels good, but it also helps to serve the employee in their own growth. It helps to serve the business and the business's growth, because if we're connected as a team, we're going to work harder for each other. It goes both ways.
Yeah, that's so true. If you have that care, if you're invested in their lives, then they're going to do extraordinary things, not for you, but with you.
Yes.
And it took me the longest time to figure that out. And the irony of this, and I think I talked about this as well at Masterminds, my dad built a business from nothing to a big business, and had 100 or so employees. And he was a tough leader, and he was fair, and he was invested in them. Like, he knew their spouses' names, he knew their kids' names. Holidays, he always had events for them. If something was going wrong in their lives, they could come to him. And I had that model, and somehow I forgot it along the way until I realized somewhere about almost a decade ago that the one-to-one, that simple vehicle, can change everything. But it isn't easy. Like, it used to make me really uncomfortable. I'd sit down with someone about this close more often. I might be walking down the streets, having a walk together. And I had to get used to the idea of being that close and invested and caring for someone. It just wasn't really in my wiring, at least yet it wasn't. I had to learn that skill. But once I got there, good gosh, you realize the whole world changes for the better.
Yeah, and you can learn it.
You can learn it.
You just start.
Yeah.
You just start.
Right.
And in fact, tell them you're starting. Say, hey, I want to try something new. Yeah. I want to start meeting with you one-to-one, every other week, 20 minutes or so. I'll show up at the job site. I'll bring you a cup of coffee, or, we'll meet when the day is over, before you get started in the morning. And I just want to talk and find out how you're doing, find out how I could better be supporting you, and find out how you think the business is doing, anything that we can improve. Yeah. And I'm not really sure how it's going to go, but I'm going to start. Your folks will say,
they
sure.
Look at you like you have two heads. You just have to get past that fear.
Yeah.
Like, I may have fear or be inhibited about that idea of making that kind of an overture to someone. Because there's a lot of, I'm kind of exposing myself in that, opening myself up. by showing that kind of character. A lot of our pros and like a lot of people I've worked with and going back in the trades, they want to be tough.